happy to be here in the Institute of Social Science and Humanities in Skopje, and especially very happy to be together with Professor Kamelia Spassova, Victoria and Riste. We used to. Okay. Okay. Thanks. So we used to work together on 2 or 3 projects, and it's very inspiring because in each project, each of us could participate with his own theoretical or practical interests, and together we continue from transhumanization, parahuman events to digital transition, and we are on the process of becoming more and more digital, since several of us keep on meeting in real. And there's one letter of Goethe's in the beginning of the 19th century. He is speaking about world literature and how people should know all over the world, but this reaching people all over the world in the beginning of the 19th century, it was possible through letters, and Goethe said in his one of his speech, it is good to communicate by letters, but it's still good to meet people, one another in person. So I'm happy that now all of us, that all of us here are in person and are not completely digitally transferred. So so today I should speak about a textbook which we prepare, a part of our project, but this textbook is done and each of you could see this textbook. It is concerning the problems of the project, but I'll speak about something which occurred as a problem during the process of preparing this textbook. And it is the problem of how we quote another sources in our scientific articles, and what is the term, the process, the notion of self-quotation, of self-citation. This problem occurs because our aim of this textbook was each partner of this project to participate with one of his articles, which he or she have already written and was published in, for example, Clouseau published in big American editions, or for example, some of the articles are published in Columbia, Harvard, Fordham, and so on. And the problem is that we don't possess part of our intellectual properties, because if we publish in some good publishing houses, they own our intellectual labor for some years, not for all the life, but still they possess, and we couldn't give this for this textbook, which is for non-profit, for students, and it's a part of imaginary textbook because it could be used in teaching in academia, but the problem is still there, that we could participate with a later article which endured this period of 5, 6, 7 years. It depends on the different publishing houses. So that's the problem, and that's how I reached the problem of citation and self-citation in the digital transition process. it's important how sometimes when we try to refer to our own work, we are in some blind perspective, and it's not so easy. So we reach, as the title of the Magritte picture, not to be reproduced. So it is produced, but it's not possible to be reproduced. I know all of you, this is a very common picture, but the title, it's important here, not to be reproduced. So the first point is, what is the quote? And I started here, but I reached something which is interesting a little bit later, that quote is something which is not possible to algorithms, to algorithm agency. So that is the differentiation between human and the machine, is the possibility of quoting. And I'll prove you in asking, I'll prove you that argument in asking different kinds of algorithms, ChatGPT, Google Cloud, and so on, to quote Kant's definition of the sublime. And I'll show you the result, how they succeed in quoting. You could ask everything, to quote the thesis of the last book of Kulzova, to ask them what is the definition of mutus in Aristotle, or whatever. It is important to ask the machine to quote something as if you should do it in an article, or as agency to put it in an article, scientific article. So what is quote, and what are the conditions of possibility to have quotes, and what is the structure of the quote? So it's something very easy to find the quote when we have quotation marks, inverted commas. In Bulgarian, we have inverted commas down and high, but in American standard, they are all above. I received a letter, a mail, several days ago, and it finished, by spirit, I am with you, but physically, I am in Calcutta. And I was very perplexed about the end of this letter, and asked of the mail, are you in Calcutta? And then I returned to the email, and I see that this is in quotation mark. And I said, this is a quote. And that's an enigma, that's some riddle. Where comes the quote? And I had one play, the grandmother of Calcutta, and said, is the quote part of this play, modern play? And the guy who wrote the email said, no, this is Bulgap. So I couldn't find the quote, but I differentiate that it is a quote. So if you know part of these machines which find plagiarism, are searching of quotation marks, and find search whether the part inside is referring to something in the net, and the other part it's okay. So it depends if something is without quotation mark. For example, it's another paragraph you quote as a separate paragraph, the machine found it as a plagiarism, because it searched to be in quotation mark, to be marked not as plagiarism.
Publishers require that you quote
with italic. But according to the machine, Yeah, it will not distinguish it as not being that.
Machine is not informed.
Yes, yeah.
Can I give an example for this?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah, of course.
I have like a professor at the university, she studies Turkish language and literature. And she had published an analysis of a poem, and she had included the poem, but because it wasn't in quotation.
Yes.
Yes, so the machine picked it up as her pretending, to have written it,
Yeah.
and it flagged her up for plagiarism. She was looking at her paper because she knew it was her original analysis, turns out she didn't quote the poem.
Yes, that's one problem. Each of us.
Like that in professional, because if it's publishing, it is considered even illiterate to put quotation marks.
Yeah.
The quote is in that.
Yeah, but like when the publisher, like the people that were gonna publish it, when they put it in to turn it in, they didn't deselect that area because it didn't have like quotation marks. And so.
It's not supposed to. You will be rejected. The copy
See,
editor
like,
will
that's what I'm
remove the copy editor will remove the quotation mark if it's an indented citation. Let's open any book, that's how it's done. Except,
Yes.
the rule for thesis.
Yes, and it's important because all of us working with students know that their theses are going to this kind of machine searching of whether there is plagiarism or not. And in the end, it's very important that even the percent of plagiarism is above the allowed. The tutor could say, is there or not? So the human agency should recognize whether the machine is working okay or not, and it's important to have it in the end of the scheme, that the recognition to be put on a human agency, because this kind of formalism could work against the actual case.
Yeah, but it's also a question of policy that is then embedded in the software, because here we have plagiati marker. We have to run every thesis that is defended here through plagiati marker, and then it kind of assesses if it's plagiarized or not, and it has a certain percentage of repetitions it allows, and the logic is that this is probably citation or coincidence, still overlap up to how many percent? Up to 30%. So even if it's okay. Yeah, because this could most likely be quotation. That's the logic of the software. So anybody who has, above 30% may have an issue. We may need to check, but yeah, 30 is fine, I think. And so far we haven't had negative reports except once.
We always have some percentage because there is some words that can be found somewhere else, but it's usually around 10. Once we had a candidate whose MA thesis had 28. He was very close, but his thesis was analysis of laws and the kind of strategic documents.
And so the documents are repeated.
There to be discussed. Yeah.
They were the subject of the thesis. So thankfully he was not above 30, but he was very close, and this could mean something a problem. But his main process.
For me, we should.
So I get because that is the thesis. He's analyzing the.
For me, it's very important the decision to be made by human, because that's the important part. Because now with one of the bachelor theses, I have above 15%, which is also a lot. But in the end, the machine in this particular case mistake the part of the comma, the quotation, because the commas was not correct. So the original text, it was marked as quotation, and the quotation is the text. So it inverted all the theses. So in the end, it was not the case of going above this percent, but for the machine in this case, the mistake was the kind of commas this particular work is used, so are being used. So one colleague of mine who published Radosvet Kolarov, a book in Routledge, asked each of the colleagues who was cited in his book whether they permit to be cited in his book, and the Routledge asked him for that. So if I quoted Kuluzova and my book is published there, I should ask, could I cite it you? I think this is really against the science, the humanity, against the logic of the science. But still, this first point is the most formal, the most interesting is the second. And this point is that in each quote, we have particular context, and at the same time, we have decontextualization of something, as we could put in commas, original context. So in each quote, we have the process of decontextualization. So we take something from one ground and put it in another. And this is dealing with minimum two contexts. And so we in this process, we always have a kind of inverted forms. So we couldn't put the original thought because we use it in another context. And probably the most striking example how this work is this famous essay or short story of Borges, Pierre Menard, the author of Don Quixote, that putting something exactly the same in another context, it works in another way. So it have different functions. So the process of quotation is working with a kind of attribution. So we have the figure of the author, authority, and institution. So the quotation can be a conservative fact. So we are we'd like to refer to somebody, and to whom we refer in our paper, it is a figure of authority. It is a kind of a figure of authority. Of course, it could be criticized, but still nowadays to be criticized, to be destructed in some academic paper, you're still cited. So you have in this logic more points, and it's good. But still, we could still see quoting as an act of constructive figures of authorities, and so that's also evident. And the second is destructing the authority in a kind of judgment, critics, but we always, when we have something quoted, we have a kind of remarks and commentary in approaching this or that sentence, this or that thought in a different perspective. So the basic types of quotes are direct or paraphrase. And here comes the logic of the machines. To put it very short, the algorithms, the intellects like ChatGPT could paraphrase, but could not quote. That's very evident, and you could ask them. You could see how this works. And the techniques of the quote always is, so we have this modern avant-garde technique of montage always when we have quote. So we have montage of our premises and that one we quoted. So we have some kind of juxtaposition of different elements. And in this juxtaposition, we have created a new pattern, theme, image, meaning in this kind of montage. And the structure of the quote is, this scheme is not made by me, but it's a very typical scheme when we works in a machine type of thinking. So we have input and output. So we have the input, the source of quote. So I'm quoting Kulusova. So I took her thought and put it in my output. So I'm delivering output, this kind of project language. But what is important is in the middle. So what is in the middle is the context and the process of rephrasing, transformation, invert it, and so on. So it's important not what I'll take, but how I'll transform it in some manner. So this middle part is what is important. So the case with Miglena Nikochina's book, Matriciting Language, and the question to quote or not to quote, part of our project is Professor Miglena Nikochina, who is my professor in the university, and we used to discuss her book, Matriciting Language, Writing Theory in Kristeva and Wolf, several times when I was student, when I was MA student, when I was PhD student, and when I became assistant. And each time in different group we discussed this book, she said, no, this is not my thesis. You don't understand nothing of my book. My thesis is not so simple. And she rephrased what is her approach, what is her method, what is her aim, what is her main scope of this book. And I became thinking, am I so stupid in each level of my approach? I reread this book several times, so I tried to become closer to the main thesis, but each time I made a mistake that this is not the exact premises of the of this book. And then I understand that not the book is changing, but Nikochina is changing, and she's self-quoting herself, but on another meta level. So this is her book, but her book on a different perspective. So she's changing all these years, and could you know it if you started some project and you are new in this field, you make it with a lot of details and approaching in many sentences. But when you understand the field of what you're doing, you could rephrase it with one sentence. And when you master this topic, this field, you could put it in one sentence and rephrase it in a meta level. So that's the same argument, but on another conceptual framework. So we are always, as we are not machines, rethinking again and again the same issue. So we continue interested in feminism, transhumanism, the concept of human, the social environment, but thinking about all this process in the lens of our own past, of our own erwachsen, or yes, developing in the time. So in each time we return to our previous topic, there is a deeper form of synthesis. and more complex re-examination of the previous topics. We could come that the perspective of theoretical position in self-citation is very important, and it is changing during the time. Even when I self-quote my previous book, the theoretical position in which I reapproach it is different. So because the concept of the self is dynamic, and so we could come here that there is not something which is self-identical, but on the opposite, there is non-identical of the self, because the self is something which is changing all over the time. So we have different mediation, we have a process of negation, inconsistencies, which is part of the human. This is the techniques of self-quote citation are self-referring, but in this self-referring, we have not only paraphrasing, but developing the previous status. So we came here for the main, the most interesting part of the presentation is how we could differentiate the citation between human agency and algorithm agency. And the very brief answer is machines are capable of recursivity and repetition, but not reflection. So we could have these 3 R: recursivity, repetition, and reflection. So what is recursivity? Recursivity is algorithms and that how they develop, how they became intelligence and so on. And this is a big debate about fractal structures. And these fractal structures are self-referential and self-similarities. That's how fractals are. We could see on the picture one fractal, and which is self-similarity, not self-identical. It's important that we have analogy as a pattern on the basis of the intelligent, but still in this type of thinking, it's not thinking, it's not intelligence still, we have periodically predictable context, and these kind of fractals, which are, fractals are, they are very beautiful, but still, if we are deeper in the theory of House and Lorentz, we'll still see that these kind of structure are deterministic and not unpredictable. On the opposite, they're pretty much predictable. So yes, they can see that they can grasp the crystallization of the chaos, but still their principle of working is from simple function to become more and more complex structure, but still we have very predictable results. And the important regime of thinking is this kind of repetition, thinking repetition in the perspective as these friends on the wall there, Jacques Derrida, that we have never absolute repetition, but also always a process of differentiation and interability, and repetition is a concept which is a singular, not a process of predictability. And here comes to the machines and the result of asking them different type of machines. So if you're here, you could, let me minimize something. Okay, this is not only ChatGPT, but something bigger, and there's a different type of machines. And so each of them, you could name it. Sometimes you could ask them, please, could you give that result? A friend of mine said, if you're very polite, the answer will be better, but that's not quite sure. So first is the favorite, the face of the digital transformation, GPT-4. Let's ask GPT-4. Could you provide a quotation from Kant's Critique of Judgment that defines the concept of the sublime? Certainly. He, she, it, trans, non-binary, not sure. But still he answers certainly short differentiation between sublime and beauty. And here is the definition. The sublime is that the mere capacity of thinking, and I ask him, can you give the exact page of the quote? I apologize for this inconvenience, but I don't have the excess of exact page numbers. What is interesting is that the next question is that the exact quote, or you paraphrase Kant's text? The line I provide is a paraphrase of Kant's idea related to the sublime from the Critique of the Judgment. If you're looking for the exact quotation, it's the best to consult the specific section of the analytic of the sublime in the reliable translation of the text. I'm not a reliable instance for the exact quotation. And what is interesting, asking him which English edition is reliable in terms of translation, he provided 3 of them. And if I again ask him, could you provide exact quotation of one of the latest edition of 2000, ChatGPT answer in the edition translated by the analytic of the sublime typically begins around paragraph 23 and extends through paragraph 29. However, page number can be very slightly between different printing and formats, so he couldn't provide them. So we could continue asking another machines, but the next one is, let me see, I asked them. First is ChatGPT-4, then GPT-4.0, Google, Gemini, and Cloud. The best result is done by Cloud. And the worst is by Google. I don't know why, but Google just gave a quote, which is the other one are closer to the exact quote. This one is totally imaginary and asking, is it the exact definition? Google Gemini answer, you're right to be curious. I'm still under development, and while I have access to a lot of information, I don't have the capacity to pinpoint specific edition and translation. So she, it didn't provide. And the best result is gave by Cloud. He actually gave the exact definition of the Critique of the Judgment, but after that, when he is being asked, is it the exact quote, he answered, I apologize for the confusion. You're right to question this, and I appreciate your attention to detail. Upon reflection, I realized I made a mistake, and so on. This is not a direct quote, but it was direct quote. So still it couldn't differentiate, recognize, even he, she, it is right and it is direct code, he's not sure and couldn't recognize it as such. So none of the machines could actually help me in quoting the exact page of exact edition with pages and, for example, Kant 2000 page 56. So none of them, even on cloud is closer, and GPT-4 provide a correct translation and edition. So the translation and editions are very correctly signed. So again, algorithms could work with recursivity, but they are not capable of repetition and reflection. Most of the machine are very perplexed if you ask him, why are you thinking so? So thinking about the basis, the foundation, the philosophical foundation of why are you, what is your theoretical position, why you have this kind of position, are you Marxist, are you socialist, are you feminist, whom you are, it is very perplexed. So all of you is kind of familiar of this debate. It's 1988 debate between Searle and Derrida, and his article Signature Event Content. So I'll not go in details. Well, if you like, we could continue in the conversation after, but I'll just remind you one phrase Searle gave it, that in perlocutive acts we have sometimes not pure perlocutive, but something which is anomaly on parasite. And Derrida catch this and said that yes, to cite is always to parasite. And so we parasite on previous text, but there is always in the beginning a quote, a citation. So we do not have original in the beginning, and after that the quote. All the culture is quote. So that's a simple definition of human culture. It starts with quotation. How to do things with citation, and here is a larger paragraph of here. It's a human agency, me, Jacques Derrida, Signature Event Content Limited. Okay, okay. So when I started sharing something else. Okay. So limited thing translated by Samuel Weber and Jeffrey Melman, and it is page 12, the first one, and the second part is page 16. What was interesting in the first quote is that it shows that citation use this kind of duplication, duplicity, or on the Derrida concept, interability, and we are also always in such process. So this is not anomaly, but this kind of duplication is the normal. So that is his main issue. So he I said Searle, but this of course is Austin. I made a mistake, and he found another place of Austin who said, if I say I marry you, yes, do you agree? Yes, this is true performative. But if actor said this phrase on the stage, it is impure performative, and Riste will disagree. And Derrida said, on the page, not on the page, on the page and on the stage, it is the true event. It is not a repetition, and it's not pure performative. There are not such things as pure performative, but and successful performative. So there is not such a things as anomaly, exceptions, non-serious citation as such on stage, in poem, or in monologues. But all these cases are good performative. So I'll finish with a paradox as old as our culture, and a small riddle, a bit of a riddle. The paradox is Theseus' paradox. So whether this is the ship of the famous Athenian hero, or it is the ghost of that ship. This is a paradox concerning the concept of identity and the process of change. So the process of self, how I refer to myself when I change over the time. So the paradox could be formalized as is an object simply sum the specific parts that compose it, and if those parts are gradually replaced one by one, element by element, is still the same object. And so this kind of issue is put in narrative of Theseus, who is coming back from Crete to Athens with a ship, and this ship is very famous, and so the tradition would like to reserve it, to keep it safe, but they could change part by part each of its elements. So the vessel, the one wood, another wood, and in the end, they preserve it, they keep it, but each of the elements is changed. So is it the ship of the Theseus, or it's another ship, because each of the elements is different. And this could go to the concept of Plato, Aristotle deal with this paradox, but it is well narrated in Plutarch, in one of his short stories, and this is the exact part of the riddle of the of this paradox. And this is again, if we say self-quote ourselves, but each of our concept is changed. Is it still our idea, or it's a different idea? Is my past, so I'm not agree my past view on such a topic, but somebody quote my previous idea, not my new ideas. So is it me? Who is cited? Who is being cited?
Only once you die.
Of course, that's again that writing is dying. But this is the riddle. At the end, the process of citation comes to the process of thinking, because if this is a kind of human intelligence, we could ask, where are we when we think? So that's where we, when we think, where we. Huh? I asked, where are we?
In Falkara. In Falkara.
Okay, okay. That's a good idea. Here the riddle is that it's in quotation mark. So whom I quote? Where are we when we think?
So
No. Not such an institution. No. It's The Life of the Mind of Hannah Arendt, and her answer is nowhere. So we are nowhere. When we think, we are in non-territory, we deterrorize the mind. And so we grasp this point that humans' reflection on the temporality of thinking is something, and this is again the quote of Hannah Arendt, in the gap between past and future. So we are nowhere in the gap between past and future. So still we are in the gap. Thinking is in the gap. And Hannah Arendt is developing on one Kafka short story. So this is a gift for you on a project of thinking on short stories of Kafka. This is the story called He. And in this story, it is much longer, a little bit longer. It's 5 sentences, but the first one is, all that he goes seems to him, it is true, extraordinary new, but also because of the incredible spate of new things, extraordinary, amateurish, indeed, scarcely tolerable, incapable of becoming history, breaking short the chain of the generation, cutting off for the first time and in the most profound source the music of the world, which before him could at least be divined. Sometimes in his arrogance, he has more anxious for the world than for himself. So again, at the end, in this digital translation, we are in all over the process of a lot of extraordinary new things, and sometimes it's good to keep ourselves in the gap between past and future. So that's my presentation, the end of my presentation.
Before we continue with the discussion, can I give some brief information about the project again? Please on standby. I just want to say that we have developed a digital tool and a separate website called EIDE, as is the acronym of this project, where we put all of our ongoing research, prior report information about events, etc. And I hope we have uploaded the textbook. Have we? Okay, Kame will send it to you and you will upload it as the rest of the project results. And that's where we will upload all of these presentations, the videos. So maybe you can share the link with whatever is available now, or I mean to the public, so that they know where to find. Mind you, it's not full. We haven't uploaded all of the documents. We haven't uploaded all of the results. We haven't uploaded all of the videos so far. We are working on it, but the website is available, and it's also available in or will be available in a mobile app form.
Yeah, it will be.
It will be. So here it is. Well, we don't have proper podcasts, but this is streaming currently, so we will upload all of these videos as podcasts and whatever we had previously. There is something
Yeah.
already. So this is it. EIDE digital tool. You can search it like that. Here, we have some. Do we have the workshop on methodology from last year?
Sorry, I don't know how to work.
No, the
Make it
September one.
No, I'm coming to that.
Вера Македонски само.
Mhm. Speed
It
up.
must be available in English as well. We will put up that version as well. The English version, it's in Macedonian because we invited the policymakers, etc., that are of local profiles.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is what we have so far.
Yeah.
There is still much more to upload.
Okay, generally, but
Yeah. And maybe through here we can stream the follow-up virtual workshop.
yeah.
We mentioned it in the morning, so it's simply kind of an extension of what is going on now in a shorter format of, half a day or something, reconvening and meeting online to wrap up the whole thing. So that's the only the next thing that will be streamed live, and also maybe through this platform, and certainly made available as video on this platform, as will all of these videos from today. So that's all I had to add, simply not to forget it. If you're thinking any questions. By the way, the lunch is here. Maybe we can. If you're taking any questions, you can just go there. Are there any questions?
I kind of wanted to ask something, because of
The people are not seeing anything now. Maybe you should ask also there.
Okay.
I think it might be an ignorant question, I don't know. I feel uncomfortable.
No, it doesn't matter, but the people, especially Athens, everybody's there in the Zoom.
Hi. So my name is Arnore Temin, or for short, I feel like I have to introduce myself. I work for the International Balkan University, and with two of the institutions that were, co-creators of this project, we have an Erasmus interinstitutional agreement. We don't with the Panteion University, but I'll get on writing an email by the end of this week. No, I just wanted to ask about because of the way that the session was presented, like on the agenda, opening the question about digital transition of the entire concept of textbooks. And so I just wanted to know, like, a bit more about that, like if it would be possible, not just like, in citations, but about like, because I haven't read the book, so my question might be ignorant. So that is why I wanted to ask it outside of the camera, but now I have asked it. So like your thoughts and opinions about that, or maybe a summary if it's written in the book about that, and that's it. So I could show a little bit of this textbook. So the textbook is concerning, let me see exactly, 22 articles, and they're grouped in several sections. So let me open so we have some big chapters concerning the main topics of our project. So it is the automated labor, gender, culture, and the future of democracy. And so we spread some of the topics between different institutions because our Greek partners are working on automated labor, so they should provide this part. We work on most on transhuman technologies and so on. So we have this kind of articles, and our decision is each partner should provide 3 to 5 articles on that topics, and that's how we gather the structure of the whole.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't clarify. Maybe I misunderstood.
These are reprints of our original works on these topics.
No,
It's not a new book.
No, it's not, maybe I wasn't clear. So basically, it's a discussion about a digital transition of textbooks in essence. Yeah,
No.
so
No.
that's what I wanted to hear your opinion on.
Oh, okay.
It's becoming digital.
Yeah. My experience is I could show you again. I'm teaching at Sofia University Asian literature and world literature or comparative literature, and you could see, for example, give me a topic, let's say Homer, Odysseus. So that's the digital sources I give to my students. So everything is digitalized, and actually I've been shown part of a minute for being not modest, but I've been shown for the student for a good example how all the textbook that they need, all the primary resources, secondary resources are digitalized. So I even don't need to send them emails, but they know I'm on the third topic and say they could choose whatever they'd like. Actually, that's a problem when I have too many sources. And again, I could send it today. We are working on data articles because there are too many. So you could see. So that's the sources for one lecture, and it could continue in this way. So here you could see that all of the primary translation and articles, and so I have a lot of in the original language I'm teaching, in this case Bulgarian, and then some of important sources in English, for example, for support. And Katya will say, but I'd like very much, I prefer even from better than Bulgarian translations, uncast and translation in English and so on. But I think that to have all the textbook digitalized is part of the new communication. So actually, I gave all the sources digitalized, but there is one experiment. Last year we have extraordinary seminar, so it was one time. It was a partnership between the National Theatre and our institution, and it was held in the National Theatre. And so a lot of students became part of it, and the National Theatre allowed them to go to whatever kind of place they'd like in this semester. And so each time we send them in advance Brecht, Artaud, whatever we are discussing, Brooks, and so on. So whatever text we discussed, we send it in advance. And after that, we ask, have you read it? And there are 100. There was 177 students who participated in this seminar. And from these 77, 3, 4 or read this or that article. And one time I said, okay, now I'll present something of one very interesting Bulgarian theorist. He's in the generation of Miglena and went and teach in Princeton for several years, Russian literature. Arista probably has read Vladislav Tudorov. He's famous about Zift and so on, but he's very good specialist on theater. And I said, now I'm presenting something on this book. You could see it, but this book does not exist. You couldn't find it. It is not digitalized. It is not in the library. You couldn't find it. I have it. And after that, it was very funny because you couldn't find it in the black market and so on. And after that, it was very, very funny because there was a copy in the libraries, of course. And some of the students, 7 or 8, I don't know, 10 students read this article, not being digitalized, being difficult to be approached. And so sometimes probably not digitalized sources and libraries are still working for us. So, yeah.
So I'll ask one more question since you're there. Do you think that we're going to move on to, or does anyone think that we are going to move on to a concept where the university as it is a building, as a structure, like it's not going to exist anymore?
I have this conversation just an hour before traveling from Sofia to Skopje, and I said that it is possible, not during my lifetime.
Not during your lifetime or during?
Yes, not during my lifetime.
Oh. But there's hope, you know, the rest of the
my hope is that in the university, it's conservative institution. It's even though the world is collapsing, and we have this neoliberalistic logic in thinking of university as part of globalist capital, and so we should gather more profits, for example, more articles, to produce more articles. So I am a producer of articles, together more points in publishing Scopus or Web of Science. So this is a capitalistic logic, and there are colleagues who said, oh no, that's disaster. I'll not publish there. But in this process, they're being too retro, put it simple, and being out of the stream, and it's not a good logic. It's good logic to be there and not to be there, to be in the gap and to be part of it. But still, some of the change happening in the university are very, very slow. So we could develop and change and being part of our work, but sometimes being a little bit festina lento, being a little bit slow. So that's my hope. I don't know what Katya is thinking on that.
I mean, there are already universities that are fully online, but they're not considered prestigious, etc. So
And it's against the law of higher education of Macedonia.
where?
I think it's against the law of higher education of Macedonia. Distance
Maybe
learning.
here, but no, it's not against. You just need a separate accreditation if it's fully online. And leave us aside, we are not the center of contemporary global things. These huge global universities, they have physical quarters either in Germany or in the States, etc. But they're still, like lacking prestige, etc. Because academia is indeed one of the major institutions of capitalist organization, especially in the States. You know, you don't have military research, you don't have proper economic research, you don't have economic policies that run the state. In the United States, if they are not run through certain centers and departments and think tanks at certain universities in the state. So it's still this type of an institution, and everything that is alternative and still happening only online is not as prestigious, but it's not excluded, I would say, that, you know, even those universities go almost fully remotely, you know, but it's not excluded that it would happen in our lifetimes, I would say. There would still, of course, keep physical premises for whatever is, you know, profitable for the state, especially, but I don't see any reason why they wouldn't go fully, working fully remotely, because it's cheaper. We use our own resources at home, right? To work from home, to teach from home, to study from home, so I don't know, it may be possible. Then we all have a chance to experiment with this possibility during COVID, so there must be some good ways.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I would also add that quite for capitalist reasons, universities can disappear in reality, go to virtual sphere, because you have costs about real universities, and as in enterprises doing the virtual transition, it is motivated by the profit reasons. So it can happen with universities also, especially because the trend is to make universities productive and profitable. So it is a danger, in my opinion, and also about the digitalization of books and all the hyper-production of content. It always reminds me of all those Huxley Brave New World, where there was plenty of books, but no one wanted to read them. So we are living in that kind of dystopia that he only thought that it is possible, but it is a reality in our lifetime. So you can have a lot of sources, but it is very typical if you offer the students material before classes, before the lecture, that no one would read it. I think 7 of 77, it is quite good. So we should think about this dystopian aspect of all those Huxley, because it is happening to us. Ever more books and ever less people who read the same amount as before.
If I can add something, in a class just the other day, I was asking my students what was the last book that they read, and many of them, like maybe 10 out of 30, said that they want to be a writer, but they haven't read the book recently. That's paradox. Because anybody wants to create content, but doesn't want to read.
See this moment, for example, we have started.
That's exactly.
You can have a paper with a lot of quotations, and a person who is doing that hasn't read the books. Maybe by digitally searching the quotation. And somehow it's just copy pasting the footnotes to give the impression that he has read it. Just for that.
That's out of digitalization. You can search whatever you need. You doesn't need to read the whole.
and it's happening.
You're right, and I'm just speaking with you, Ioana, that probably it is better not to give a lot of sources, but to read in the class with them 3, 5, 6 pages, and they read and comment what they understand. Better than giving in advance a lot of, so sometimes when we should read philosophical or theoretical texts, it's easy, but sometimes when we should read a novel or something like that, accept, okay, no problem, nobody read that, no problem, start reading. And absolutely perplexed, start, it's no problem, you read 3 pages of Thomas Mann, that's good still.
The point in academic writing,
Yeah.
research nowadays is everything can be subjected to algorithms and software that can enable us to look for keywords, hold it, and then not have to read the whole 30 pages of an article. So there's an amalgamation of many sources, just a portion of this or that, and then you piece it together and make it valid.
Yeah.
But basically, as the professor said, you can quote or you can cite 300 sources, but yeah, right, technically 10.
Yeah. But this is this kind of neo-capitalistic logic of production and not staying in the gap, not staying in the process of thinking, and actually, really, you should step apart, not, okay. This one is cutting or?